Hey everyone, Jeff Risen with the Daily DLP. It is Monday, January 5th. It's a victory Monday. Yes. Lions got it done yesterday, beating the Chicago Bears in Chicago. Season finale. Jake Bates made the game-winning field goal as time expired. Incredible win. Way to end the season. Way to go down swinging. Way to humble the Bears. Got the sweep over the division winners. It's a good day. Very nice way to end the season. I'm buzzed about it. So I will give you a little bit of logistics on the game. As I mentioned in the daily on Saturday, and watched the game in real time. I was driving home from Houghton. I went up to see my son at Michigan Tech, and I decided to drive home through Wisconsin and around Chicago to get back here to the west side of the state. Meant I drove by Green Bay as they were losing to the Vikings. They got annihilated. Didn't really pay much attention to it. But I spent most of the day listening to the Chicago media feed and the pregame. I will give the Bears pregame a lot of credit. They focused almost exclusively on the Bears, which is what a good team should do. And they were talking about the playoff possibilities and all that. They were having some joy at the Packers getting annihilated by the Vikings. That's who they play next week, by the way. The Bears and Packers will play. But as the game got going, it was very different listening to the Bears. And first off, I do want to give their play-by-play guy, Jeff Joniak, was great. He's very good. Not a homer at all. I thought he called a very good game. He's not Dan Miller. Nobody's Dan Miller. But it was a good broadcast. But the way that the Lions came out and seized control of the game and, in their words, outcoached Ben Johnson badly in the first half of the game specifically. Great game from Dan for the most part. We'll get to the end because that wasn't. Fantastic game from Kelvin Shepherd, the defensive coordinator. I know a lot of people want him replaced. After what he did in the last 2 weeks with the personnel that he had on defense, look, they didn't even have the Legion of Whom in the secondary. They had guys who the Legion of Whom were looking at like, who the hell are these dudes? And did a fantastic job shutting out the Chicago Bears for most of the game, getting away from their tendencies, making Caleb Williams uncomfortable, making Ben Johnson uncomfortable. Loved it. Great game from the defense. Hutchison got a lot of pressure. I thought Tyleik Williams had his best game of the season. I did watch the game this morning, by the way. I watched the condensed version, and I am about halfway through the all-22. I'm actually on the second drive after halftime. But just really enjoyed how well the Lions went to playing almost exclusively zone. Look, you've got a man coverage team. It's a defense that is schemed that way. And it was clear that Ben Johnson was expecting a lot of that. Well, when you don't have 4 of your top 5 defensive backs, and the Lions didn't, Kelvin Shepherd mixed it up. Played a lot of zone, a lot of cover 4, a lot of mix and match zone, which I thought was very nice with the linebackers because our linebackers didn't cover very well. Colson Loveland, good player, had a big game. But just the way that they presented different looks than I think Ben Johnson expected and the way Caleb Williams expected it, it was very clear from the Bears radio broadcast that they were taken aback by the Lions not playing any man at all. And it took about 3 quarters before Ben Johnson adjusted. And then they did, and then we had ourselves a whale of a ball game. Some of the things that I picked up on from their broadcast, They didn't expect Jared Goff to be moving around as much as he did. I watched in the condensed replay of the Fox broadcast. It didn't seem like he was moving that much, but I will give Chris Hubbard. Holy crap, Chris Hubbard at right tackle, playing in place of Penei Sewell. I got doom and gloom, admittedly, when Penei was ruled out on Friday. Like, we're not winning this game. Not without Penei. Not against this defense. Montez Sweat over there? Come on. Chris Hubbard. Dude. So I covered Chris Hubbard in Cleveland. He wasn't good, to be kind. Fans wanted blood because he was a high-priced free agent acquisition at tackle, and he was miserable for the Browns. Like, really bad. Played a great game yesterday. Considering he hadn't played all year, like, that was nice, man. That was a very good performance from Chris Hubbard. I think this is his 12th NFL season. Might very well be his last. Showed enough in that one to at least be in the conversation to be OT3 next year. Excuse me. I had a cold for a good week. Hoping to get through it. More coffee. But the run game. Quick hit runs. No dancing. No lateral stretch runs. Both Monty and Gibbs got north and south. They had cutback lanes. But it was a very nice game, by and large, from the interior offensive line. The much maligned interior offensive line had its best game, certainly in pass protection, in a long time. They weren't perfect. Goff did have to, flee a couple times. He had a couple passes batted down. That was a very well schemed offense. And here's the one that I loved, and the Bears broadcast picked up on this too. C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Exploited, toasted, whatever you want to say. You can put some curse words in there because he certainly would. That's who he is. Amon-Ra just ate him for lunch, man, or dinner, as it may be. That was fantastic. Saint just, look, CJ was a necessary evil at the time that the Lions signed him. But he very quickly wore out his welcome and left on not good terms, was not popular in the locker room. And that showed yesterday because wherever he was, Goff was finding him. Oh, man. I don't have the PFF stats or anything for how many times he was targeted, but if you were to listen to the Bears broadcast, you would believe that he was on the receiving end of every reception that the Lions threw, especially in the first half. That was kind of nice. It's one of the things that we've complained about with the Lions this year. They didn't exploit weaknesses very well. They did that yesterday. Thought it was great game call, game plan. Again, for the first 3 quarters or so, whoever was coordinating the offense, whether it was Morton, Campbell, Scotty Montgomery, they combined to call a great game. Great game plan. They went with some tempo. They switched up the snap count. Sometimes they snapped it at 12. Sometimes they snapped it at 2. Kept the Bears off guard. Really, really smart, well-conceived game plan going against Ben Johnson, the guy who everybody thought was responsible for all those things. And then the fourth quarter came, and holy crap, it went out the window. And as I got home, I pulled into my driveway on the second drive of the fourth quarter. So I watched most of the end of the game, and I watched the defense try to play a little bit more matchup man concepts. Bad. Saw blitzes that didn't get home. I saw rush that looked tired. Hutch probably played too much. Again, I don't have the snap counts or anything in front of me, but he wasn't as effective down the stretch. Did have a couple pressures, but offensively, That third down decision, David Montgomery trying to throw the ball to Julie. What are you doing? What are you doing? Dan gripped hard. Fortunately, Ben Johnson gripped harder. Caleb Williams gripped harder, and the Lions came away with the win. What a way to win. Going on the road to beat the Bears. And it didn't hurt the Bears either, by the way. They are still the number 2 seed because the Eagles lost to the Commanders. Whatever the Eagles trotted out to play. Sounds like they didn't play hardly anybody of consequence. The Bears did. Bears were trying to win that game. Ben Johnson made that very clear after the game. And on the pregame, too, by the way, that he wanted his team to be tuned up and ready and work out some kinks. Well, they got more kinks in Chicago. Enjoy your Malort, Chicago fans. It's bitter this morning. Loved it. Loved that game. Loved beating the Bears to finish. So with the win, the Lions finish 9-8. They finish with a winning record again. They still finish in last place in the NFC North and did so with a winning record. Think about that for a second. They're 9-8 and came in last in the division. It tells you how difficult this division is. I know we don't necessarily like to acknowledge that the other teams in the division are good or as talented as us, but you know what? Minnesota finished 9-8, beating Green Bay. They own the tiebreaker with the Lions. Packers and Bears are in the playoffs. They play next week. I still don't know who to root for. I don't. I'll figure that out. We'll get to that later in the week. Lions will pick 17th in the draft. That's fine. This is not an exceptionally deep draft at the top. Just looking at offensive tackle, defensive end, pass rusher. Probably the 2 areas where I think we're going to focus most of our draft attention. That's really early to take an interior offensive lineman, especially in this class. Free agency is probably the way to go there. Again, we got a lot of time to talk about that in the offseason, but just looking early on, some ideas. Caleb Lomu from Utah stands out. Francis Mauga from Miami, the offensive tackle, stands out. Keldrick Falk from Auburn as a crush-to-can pass rusher. My goodness, he certainly jumps off the page as somebody that the Lions would love in the Marcus Davenport role. A lot of time to talk about the draft, but those are some early names that I have my eyes on that I think that the Lions will like in that role. It might have been Taylor Decker's last game based on his comments after the game. Sure feels that way. If so, bravo, Taylor Decker. Going out on a win, the division rival. He played pretty well, too. Way to go. Was probably also Dan Skipper and Graham Glasgow's last games in a Lions uniform. A lot of change coming. So much nicer to go into that offseason with a victory, though. Beating the Bears, beating a playoff team. Again, is it frustrating that the Lions didn't show this effort and this level of coaching acumen on either side of the ball against Pittsburgh, against Green Bay? Yeah, hell yeah it is. It's frustrating as all get out. But I like going into the offseason with the win. We get the 4th place schedule, which is fantastic. That is a massive asset. Playing Arizona instead of Los Angeles next year. Heck yeah, give me that. It's a great way to go into the offseason fired up with a victory. Very pleased with how well the Lions did. They kept Caleb Williams from getting the 4,000-yard mark. Did a lot of things to the Bears offense that the Bears offense was not expecting. Again, other than Colson Loveland, I thought the Bears didn't do all that much offensively getting that win when you're winning 16-0 and you give up 2 scores and 2-point conversions. I thought, oh my God, this is how it goes. This is how we're going to wind up with a losing season. This is why we're a last place team. And they didn't quit. They fought and they won, forcing that Caleb Williams intentional grounding call, getting the ball back, getting down the field again, attacking, going for the win. That's Detroit Lions football. They restored their roar in the final game. Was it too little too late for a lot of people? Yeah, and that's not wrong. You got to feel good about the way this season ended. Psyched about this. We're going to have a lot more going on this week. Probably some quick hit videos. We're going to try to get a live show in either Wednesday or Thursday. Just a great way to end the season. FTB. Isn't that a great way to close out the season? Yeah. Like and subscribe so you can get more of that. Jeff Risen wishing you a great Victory Monday.